You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and I'm Chevy Lynn Vasky with the K-State Radio Network. Today's show begins with David Schemm, Executive Director for the Kansas Farm Service Agency, as he breaks down what's happening with the Conservation and Price Support Program. Next, we hear from Lexie Hayes, Kansas Youth Livestock Coordinator, who shares details about the 4-H Livestock Sweepstakes and the opportunities the event presents for participants. We'll end today's show with part of the Beef Cattle Institute's Cattle Chat podcast as they discuss strategies to capitalize on profitability in a high-price market. That and more is coming up ahead on this episode of Agriculture Today. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we begin our show with David Schemm, Kansas State Director for FSA. David, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Chevy.
David, can you talk to me a little bit about what's happening with current FSA programs?
One of those things that we've always got a lot of things going on with various programs throughout the year. Sign up. I'd liken it a little bit to the farmer. You know, the farmer's always busy with stuff that he can get done out there, but there are times of the year when it's planting time or harvest time that is a much busier time, and it's the same thing for FSA. And I won't say that those times don't necessarily always align the same with a farmer, but definitely have some a lot of things going on right now with some programs that have been announced. I think most of the producers are aware, and we're definitely busy working on it, getting a lot of applications out there. We're actually leading the nation in the number of applications we've already got signed up for our supplemental disaster recovery program there. Staff has been working very hard trying to get producers signed up and those payments approved and out the door to help our producers there. You know, so that's kind of been a little bit busier going on. But, you know, Chevy, probably one of the things I need to, mention to give everybody just a little bit of a background is that, from a state office perspective, we have several divisions that we kind of break up for kind of general programs that each of them work with within those divisions. We have a farm program compliance division that work with a lot of the ARC and PLC and acreage sign up for our producers there. And then we also have a loan division that works with a lot of the beginning farmer guaranteed loans and direct loans for our producers out there. And then we also have a division we call Conservation and Price Support Division. And it's kind of one of the divisions I'd like to talk about this week.
Can you go into a little bit more depth about that program?
So the Conservation and Support Division, they're kind of like the other divisions. There can be what we call ad hoc programs that stand up time to time by either the Secretary or Congress that various divisions can be responsible for. But there's also regularly occurring programs that are available all the time or sign-ups are announced for those divisions there. And a big one for our Conservation Price Support Division, and I think many producers are aware of, is CRP. We've had several sign-ups going with CRP. We've had the general sign-up. We've had a continuous sign-up. And then, of course, right now, just getting done was the grassland sign-up there. We've had, a lot of producers show a lot of interest in those sign-ups going on right now. A lot more interest in the grassland CRP. Underneath our previous sign-up, we had 90,000 acres that had signed up. And underneath this sign-up right now, we're at about 195,000 acres there. So a lot of increased interest in our grassland CRP there.
And if producers are interested in signing up for this or have questions, what should they do?
Well, we just closed out with our sign-up right now. We're closed out on August 8th, so hopefully they were able to get into the office there. So many programs, Chevy, it's always go in and ask our producers here. Hopefully we should be able to have a sign-up coming this next year. If they missed this year's sign-up and be able to sign up coming next year.
David, can you talk a little bit about the Emergency Conservation Program?
ECP, Emergency Conservation Program, is a great program to help our producers that do suffer a disaster a lot of times. And that disaster can be everything from like a tornado to even drought. Right now, we have had some ECP because of disaster events in counties that the sign-up is currently open. For tornado events, just a couple of counties here, I want to note to all of our producers out there that the sign-up is what's going on. Pratt, the sign-up ends on September 2nd here. Reno County and again, these are all tornado events. Reno County just ended here on August 7th, but Kiowa is open and its sign-up ends on August 29th. And Stafford just ended here on August 18th. The one thing about the tornado, this ECP program, what it will help out producers with is debris cleanup from the tornado. I think producers have been affected by a tornado realizes there can be a lot of debris left in fields. So the cost of going in there and picking up all that debris we can offset there, as well as obviously like fence repair. So fence line that gets taken out by that tornado, producers can get cost share on that. Again, I want to emphasize on this is what the producer needs to do is go into that county office and ask them, report the damage there, and then the county offices will help to walk them through the process to make sure that we can help cost share that there. We also have some counties that are qualifying for ECP for drought. So those two counties right now is Rush, and that sign-up doesn't end until the end of December, the end of this year, 12/31, and as well as Pawnee County. Also, that sign-up ends on December 31st. And these here on drought, one of the key components where that they can really help is our producers with livestock is for helping watering facilities when they lose that water source there and being able to make sure that they have a water source for their animals there. So again, if that water source that they were relying on is dry, get a hold of that county office and they'll help walk you through that scenario, what you can do to be able to get a well or another water source opened up for those livestock.
And David, can you talk a little bit about the marketing assistant loans?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're coming starting to get closer for a lot of our fall harvest coming in here this year. And our MALs, as we a lot of time like to call them, or market assistant loans here, can be a very effective tool for our producers out there to be able to utilize. And obviously, it might be something that a lot of producers want to seriously consider this year. Unfortunately, we have pretty low commodity prices this year for a lot of our commodities out there. But they're also, it's not just for necessarily the main commodity prices like corn or grain sorghum or even wheat there. There's a lot of other things that can qualify, or even soybeans, but it's also it can be things like wool, mohair, honey, various things like that the market assistant loans can help our producers there. What happens with the market is it helps to provide that influx of cash when, again, we all know market prices can be very low, a lot of times even at harvest, and it allows the producers not to have to sell that crop, but they get a low interest rate on that commodity, a low interest rate loan for that, and it allows them to store that there. Generally, it's up to about 9 months that they're allowed to be able to store that crop there, and then before they have to sell it and redeem the loan there. When I say a low interest rate, right now, I think the August rate that we had was about 5.1%. So, again, it can be an option there. And it helps them to be able to better market that commodity there than throughout the year because they can redeem that loan at any time. So something that's very good there. We can also even do, say, if a producer delivers it to their local elevator there, if it's warehouse stored, as long as a producer can place a whole warehouse receipts up as collateral, they can do it in exchange for the loan there. So even option if it's not their own storage facilities, they can also work with a warehouse to get a MAL there. But again, that's a discussion that they need to have with their local elevator.
And David, is there anything else you'd like producers to know?
Just briefly touch on our DMC or dairy margin coverage there. There was a few effects on DMC by the One Big Beautiful Bill that a lot of producers have heard about there. It was the One Big Beautiful Bill did authorize the dairy margin coverage program into 2031 so that it ensures that there is no coverage gap out there for our dairy producers there. The other thing about it there that the Big Beautiful Bill did do to the DMC is it will now be based upon the highest annual marketing for the 2021, 22, and 2023 years there. It also increased the coverage ceiling, and the producers can still opt in to lock in coverage there, and they can even qualify for a 25% premium discount if they opt in for a multi-year coverage election there. Again, DMC, and we're already seeing effects, and as the national office has given us greater clarity on the Big Beautiful Bill and how it's going to affect our producers out there.
And can you tell me a little bit about the Supplemental Disaster Recovery Program?
It is a program that was passed by Congress. Great program to help aid our producers affected by disasters in the 2023 and 2024 year. But again, unfortunately, Kansas was one of the lead recipients in that program just because of the disasters that the state had for drought, just a lot of affecting factors, excessive heat that affected our producers out there. We knew it was going to be a big hit for our state in that producers, a lot of applications out there. We had over 60,000 applications that were pre-filled and sent out to our producers, and it has really been a high priority with us. We've already almost processed almost 40,000 of those applications. They're trying to quickly get them out so that producers can get paid. That's resulted in a lot of money. We're already at almost $400 million that we have sent out there to producers to try to help them out there. But, it's something that was also we're glad to do, and as Kansas FSA, we have really been working hard on to do it, to find ways that we can be better efficient and do a better job trying to serve our producers out there. This bill here also had some additional funding in it with help for the putting this program to place for FSA out there. So it's allowed us to be able to approve overtime for our employees, but also to be able to do some hiring for some temporary employees to help implement this supplemental disaster recovery program. And I just have to compliment our county offices out there and our employees out there. They've done an outstanding job in getting this program out there this year. So again, here to serve our producers, Kansas FSA, our employees are doing a great job, and we want to continue to get even better.
David, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Chevy.
Again, that was David Schemm, Kansas State Director for FSA. We're cutting to a short break now, but we'll be right back. You're tuned back into Agriculture Today, and we continue our show with K-State Youth Livestock Coordinator Lexie Hayes. Lexie, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And Lexie, can you talk a little bit about the Youth Livestock Sweepstakes that we have going on this weekend?
Absolutely. This weekend we are hosting the Kansas 4-H Livestock Sweepstakes, which is a really great activity for youth in the livestock industry to display their knowledge in a variety of ways. It encompasses 4 contests over the course of one weekend. So we kick off the weekend by having the Quiz Bowl qualifying exam that teams take a test to decide who is going to make it to the head-to-head rounds later in the weekend. And then we move into the state livestock judging contest, and that will happen all day Saturday. Saturday evening, we have the Livestock Skill-a-thon, where youth have the opportunity through a variety of ID stations, quality assurance, answering some questions related to the application of being involved in the livestock industry. And then on Sunday, we wrap up with having the state meats judging contest in the morning, and then in the afternoon is the actual Quiz Bowl contest. It's the head-to-head rounds where it's similar to academic Quiz Bowl, but just livestock related. And so kids are on the buzzers to decide who will represent us at the national contest.
And Lexie, can you talk to me just a little bit about some of the incentives for the teams and the individuals that are successful at this event this weekend?
Absolutely. The 4 contests that we're hosting this weekend are our state qualifying contests for the National 4-H contest. And so those teams that win will go on to represent Kansas at all of those national contests. The National Meats Contest happens really soon, and it's hosted right here at K-State in our Meats Lab in October as part of the American Royal. And then the livestock judging team, we actually will have an all-star team that will represent Kansas at the North American in November. And that is also where the National Skill-a-thon and Quiz Bowl contests are held in conjunction with that event. And then teams that place in the top few teams for each contest, those local level teams, they will also have the opportunity, depending on where they place, to represent Kansas at other national contests like Exarban, the American Royal, getting the opportunity to go to Denver. And so not only are they getting the experiences here, but they're getting those broader experiences at national contests where you get the opportunity to compete against kids on a national stage and also get to know kids from across the country that have similar interests to you.
Lexie, what exactly does the preparation for this kind of contest look like?
The youth have been working hard all year round. A lot of our teams, they practice similar to how a sports team would, and that they are practicing for this season year round, meeting with their coaches. We have some wonderful coaches in the state of Kansas. Most of them are volunteers who they love educating youth. They love the livestock industry. And so they spend a lot of time with these kids throughout the year, whether it's going to local producers and looking at animals and learning to evaluate EPDs and incorporate that into the livestock judging, or practicing quiz bowl questions and having the kids be searching the internet for things that are happening and impacting the industry to be ready for those quiz bowl questions, to setting up ID stations, finding unique pieces of equipment that you might use for the different species, and learning to identify feeds and formulate rations that would incorporate into the skillathon. And then obviously those that are having the opportunity to get in the cooler or go to their local grocery store and look at cuts of meat and learn how to identify those and select what is the best cut of meat or the most appropriate cut of meat that you would need for a specific cooking purpose.
And I know you touched just a little bit about some benefits that these youth can gain through these experiences, but can you touch on maybe some of the top 2 or 3 things that youth really gain from being involved in these kind of programs?
Right. The first thing I would say is critical thinking. For all of these classes, they're having to evaluate information and think critically. And that's going to help them in the future when they're having to think about things they're doing in their future or life in general. You usually have to think through situations. And so I would say that's the first one. The second one is teamwork. For all of these, there is an individual component, but they're responsible to a team. And so working together as a team. And for a few of the contests, there is actually a team component where they have to work together with their teammates in order to get a score for that contest. And then the other one is communication, whether it's written communication, there's a written component for all the contests, but also the public speaking that comes in when we're talking about livestock judging and meat judging, being able to express your thoughts and opinions in a professional manner.
Can you also talk just a little bit about what the reach looks like here in Kansas? How many youth are involved in this annually?
Right. We have right at 300 youth from across the state, ranging in age from 9 to 18, who will be coming to compete. And the individual contests range from having 150 in the contest to over 200. And so the contests range in size, but it's a significant group of kids. And we have a lot of new kids, but we also have a lot of kids who've been participating since they were 9, and they're graduating seniors. And we get a lot of feedback from them about what a great experience it is, and the fact that it's unique. Those who have developed relationships with other youth outside of the state of Kansas understand what a cool opportunity this is, and the partnership that Animal Sciences has with Kansas 4-H to put this on, because there are only a couple of their states that have a similar contest, but no one does exactly what we do. Because in addition to those 4 core contests, the kids who participate in all of the contests throughout the weekend, we have an overall sweepstakes award for an individual and a team. And so we combine their performance they've done in all the contests. So it has really given the Kansas kids an opportunity to extend themselves maybe further than they thought and be involved in maybe a contest that they wouldn't have originally thought that they could do, and they have found that they maybe have a hidden talent. Maybe they're a really good meat judger and they're excellent at identifying retail cuts, and they wouldn't have realized that. They maybe just started out as a livestock judger, but their coach said, you really need to do meats. We're going to do everything and be eligible for sweepstakes, and they found that they have those hidden talents. Same with kids that they just do skillathon because they raise animals at home, and the coach says, I think you're going to know a lot about this. You're going to understand some of these ID components, and you understand how to read a label and medicate your animals. And so I think it's helped our kids hone their skills, but also develop and identify those talents they maybe didn't realize that they had.
K-State is known for having very successful competitive livestock teams. Would you consider this event a great networking opportunity for some of those students who are maybe in high school? Can you talk a little bit about their interaction with some of the coaches here?
Yes, absolutely. It's a great opportunity, not only for them to network with each other, and they may be kids from opposite sides of the state who eventually will end up on a collegiate team together, and they've already developed that relationship, to starting to build those relationships with the coaches that we have, as well as other faculty members, both kids that go on to competitive teams and go on to do other really great things in the department or in the College of Ag at K-State, whether it's becoming an ag ambassador or being being involved in the undergraduate research program or being an ASI mentor. They're starting to develop all those relationships. And that is something else we hear back from kids, how cool it is that they have this opportunity, because it takes a huge group, an army of volunteers to pull off this event. And so we have a lot of faculty members, undergraduate students, graduate students that volunteer throughout the weekend to make the contest happen. And the kids always talk about how cool it is that they get to interact on a personal level with those individuals. And then later they will see a faculty member somewhere and they'll call them by name. And they feel really special and feel like that's a cool connection they have to K-State. And that's something that's wonderful about our department and the people that are involved in this, is helping build those connections early.
That's so great to hear. And I know that K-State, like you said, is known for the family aspect and the way that feels. I'm sure there's lots of other youth across Kansas who are potentially interested in getting involved in this, not this year, but maybe in the future. Can you talk a little bit about the opportunity to get involved and when they should start reaching out in their counties and trying to get a team together?
Right. If you aren't able to participate this year, it's never too early to get started. You can start practicing now and putting that team together. The registration deadline is August 1st every year. And so they would need to contact their local extension office early summer to decide and find information on how to get registered. They have to be registered through their local extension office. A lot of our counties have a variety of ways in which their teams are selected. Some of them, anyone who wants to participate just contacts the extension office and they try to put the team together. And there are a lot of counties who actually have local contests that happen throughout the spring and summer. And so they're preparing those kids at the local level and putting those teams together. So it's important to reach out early in late spring or early summer to your local extension office and see what that looks like in your county. And if you don't have a program currently, it's a great leadership opportunity to go ahead and ignite that at the local level.
Are there any other resources that youth or adults can look up online to learn more about the weekend full of events?
Absolutely. All of our rules are posted online. And so if they want an idea of what is entailed in a contest, they can evaluate our rules. And we also have the resource list up there. There are a lot of resources out there that we use to help build these contests. And so that's a great opportunity for a place to start. But I always encourage people to talk to their local extension agent. That's a wonderful resource they have locally that can also give them some other maybe local resources, or they have potentially a coach that's interested and they just need to be connected with youth who are interested.
Thank you again for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much.
Again, that was K-State Youth Livestock Coordinator Lexie Hayes. We're cutting to a short break now, but we'll have more for you up ahead.
You're tuned in to Agriculture Today. I'm Madeline Drake, in for Shelby Varner. And we continue our show with K-State's Brad White, Dustin Pendle, Philip Lancaster, Todd Gunderson, and Scott Fritz on the Beef Cattle Institute's Cattle Chat podcast.
We get this question when prices are low or prices are high, but currently feeder calf prices are high. And so the question is, should I go the extra distance and invest in a preconditioning program or a marketing-specific program to try to get some sort of premium because prices are already high?
No, that's a really good question that I'm sure people struggle with, right? Because on one hand, when we're seeing record high prices, I don't want to invest time, maybe the resources. I'll just take that. But on the other hand, you spend a little extra time, you maybe keep some better records and get into some kind of program, and you might be able to capture some of those additional revenues with it. Yeah, no, it's not a clear-cut answer, I don't think. Every operation is going to be slightly different.
So does that premium for preconditioning change based on relative market? Like, is that premium bigger when the market's low and it's smaller when the market's high, or is it a constant difference?
Is it a percent increase or a cent increase?
Yeah.
I guess I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it's in the contract, right? If you're in a certain program, if it's X percent over what the current market is.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking a lot of like these VAC 45 programs or whatever, that you're doing this stuff up front at weaning with the
potential and expectation that you're going to get a premium at the end, and they have these special sales and stuff like that for preconditioned calves. But is that premium really there when the market's already high? Because market's high because supply is low. And so they're willing to pay a higher price even for calves that aren't preconditioned because they got to have calves.
A little bit of personal experience with this from my time as a veterinarian in the Mountain West in Idaho and Montana, and then I have family that my wife's family that ranches in Montana. And so most of those calves, when I was practicing in that part of the world, were marketed through Superior Livestock, which is a video sell, and they do those VAC 30 and VAC 45 programs. And so I've been able to observe how that's gone for my clients and for my family through several phases of the cattle cycle. And my impression has been that with those video auction type sales and direct marketing, the highs aren't always as high, but the lows aren't always as low. That type of a system tends to moderate the effects of fluctuations in the market. So you may not get the top price for your calves in a year when prices are high, but you also don't get the bottom prices on years when they're low.
From a buyer perspective, and Scott, I'll turn to you. If I'm buying these calves, is preconditioning itself maybe worth more this year than it is in other years when prices are low?
I got to think it is, because the investment that you've got in that animal, and relative to what you're going to pay for it and what you're going to get out of it, if it's impacted by a preconditioning program, it's certainly going to matter because those calves are just in a dollar point or worth so much more on a high market year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that becomes the crux of the issue is who benefits and who pays for that benefit, and do I want to go to extra effort on those calves coming through? So Dustin, when you look at these preconditioning programs year in, year out, I know you guys have in broad terms looked at some of those before. Is this something that you see more people doing, the same number of people doing, or are we staying about static?
I guess I don't have any recent statistics off my head, but I mean, it's been fairly constant, maybe a slight increase over time. But regardless, thinking about these high prices is really interesting, and thinking about marketing. High prices can also mask some things, right? Like thinking about how inefficient somebody could be. And so I just think that there's some things that will never change that we preach on all the time. You still need to understand your costs because you need to understand what your break even is. And yeah, we're in high prices, but could mask some inefficiencies, and you might be thinking you're doing good. But I guess high prices generates higher revenue, but that doesn't necessarily generate profitability. Yeah.
Once again, that was part of the Beef Cattle Institute's Cattle Chat podcast with Dustin Pendle, Brad White, Todd Gunderson, Philip Lancaster, and Scott Fritz. That's all we have for you today on Agriculture Today, but we'll be back with more for you tomorrow.